You know, clowns can get away with murder. Right off the bat, that is just chilling. And those weren't lines from some horror movie script. That was actually John Wayne Gacy casually dropping that thought to two police detectives over a breakfast meeting, literally right in the middle of a massive police surveillance operation against him. It's a quote that instantly sends shivers down your spine, and honestly, it perfectly sets the stage for what we're going to uncover today. Welcome, everyone. Let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the human mind, specifically trying to decode the vast and, frankly, terrifying spectrum of criminal behavior. We're going to use some fascinating insights from forensic psychology to explore everything from calculated long-term predators to multi-million-dollar athletes who destroyed their own lives in a split second. Here is our quick roadmap for today. We're covering profiling the criminal mind, the mask of normalcy, motivations for murder, the power of taunting, sudden falls from grace, and finally, decoding criminal behavior. Let's get to it.
Section 1. Profiling the criminal mind. Defining the predators.
So, what exactly are we dealing with here? A serial killer is officially defined as an individual who commits 3 or more separate murders with what experts call cooling-off periods between each crime. Now, that cooling-off period, that is absolutely crucial. It's what separates a crime of sudden explosive passion from systematic predatory behavior. These individuals literally just go back to their daily routines, blending in with apparent normalcy, until that dark compulsion builds up all over again.
And when you look at the geographic reality of this phenomenon, it's actually pretty shocking. Out of 5,454 known cases globally, the United States accounts for a staggering 66.2%. Criminologists have spent years studying why this massive discrepancy exists. They look at factors like ease of mobility across state lines, availability of vulnerable victims, and even media sensationalism. But no matter how you slice it, the numbers themselves are undeniably stark. Moving on to Section 2, the mask of normalcy, hiding in plain sight. How do these people operate for years without being caught? Well, the contrast between their public persona and their monstrous reality is what's truly terrifying. Take Ted Bundy. He completely shattered the public perception of what a monster looks like. He was this articulate, handsome law student. He actually weaponized his charm, literally faking injuries with an arm sling or crutches, just to exploit the natural helpfulness of young women. Then you have John Wayne Gacy. He was a highly respected contractor who threw neighborhood parties and even dressed up as Pogo the Clown for charity events. He used his construction business as bait with job offers. For both of them, their respectability was their ultimate disguise.
And some take this mask a step further by weaponizing their legitimate professional authority. Look at Dr. Harold Shipman over in England. He administered lethal doses to over 200 elderly patients. Because he was a doctor, his medical authority provided a completely plausible explanation for those patient deaths, totally shielding him from any initial suspicion. Or think about H.H. Holmes, one of America's earliest recorded serial killers. He used his MD to build a sophisticated murder castle during the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, luring victims right into his trap. It turns out, a doctor's white coat can be the perfect shield for sheer malevolence.
Let's move to Section 3, Motivations for Murder. What drives the darkness? Criminologists classify offenders into distinct typologies, which basically shows us that their motivations are rarely one-size-fits-all. Some are purely thrill seekers, chasing that dark adrenaline rush. Others are motivated by cold, hard financial gain. Take Belle Gunness, for example, the Lady Bluebeard. She lured suitors through personal ads and then murdered them to collect massive insurance payouts. And then there are those who explicitly target vulnerability. Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, preyed on marginalized groups because he knew society and law enforcement might be much slower to notice they were gone. It's deeply unsettling to realize that for some, taking a life is just a chillingly practical calculation. Section 4. The Power of Taunting. Controlling the Narrative. Let's look at how the Zodiac Killer escalated his behavior. This is wild. He didn't just attack people. He systematically ramped up his taunting of the public and the police. By July 1969, he was actually calling the police himself to report his own double murder. By 1970, he was mailing chilling cryptograms and that famous 13-hole punch card to media outlets. He took a horrific killing spree and twisted it into a very public game of cat and mouse.
And here's the thing. This taunting wasn't just a Zodiac quirk. It's a well-documented psychological tool. Albert Hamilton Fish sent horrifically detailed letters to the parents of his young victims. Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, bragged about his crimes in letters to the police and media for decades. For these offenders, the initial crime is almost just the first step. The letters and the resulting media panic, that's how they continue to exert this sick, godlike control over the narrative and the victims' families.
But I want you to pause and consider this for a second. Does extreme, devastating criminal behavior only exist as this calculated, lifelong compulsion like we saw with Bundy or the Zodiac? Or can a life be completely shattered in a totally different way?
That brings us to Section 5, Sudden Falls from Grace, the Split-Second Destruction.
Look at how rapidly these incredibly successful public figures threw away their wealth, status, and freedom. We're talking about NFL players here. Dwayne Goodrich panicked after a fatal hit and run and just drove away. Ray Caruth actually hired a hitman to attack his own pregnant girlfriend. Plaxico Burress threw a massive career away in an instant when his unlicensed gun went off in a crowded nightclub. Sam Hurd got caught trying to distribute massive quantities of drugs while already making millions. And Darrell Henley? He fell into drug trafficking and then literally tried to order a hit on the judge handling his case. It just goes to show that extreme destructive choices don't always require a lifetime of psychopathy. They can manifest instantly in people who seemingly have it all, driven by sheer panic, greed, or unbelievable arrogance.
Section 6, Decoding Criminal Behavior, the Science of Profiling.
So how do experts make sense of all this? Through the rigorous academic study of offender characteristics and victimology. This is the science championed by top forensic psychology organizations. By deeply analyzing demographics, backgrounds, and the specific relationships between the offender and the victim, profilers can actually begin to map out the psychological risk factors that lead to these extreme actions. It's like putting together a giant, complex puzzle. And through this research, they've identified some truly fascinating hidden psychological traits. For instance, there's something psychologists call weak hostility. This is basically a deep-seated feeling of persecution, where a person interprets completely neutral, everyday situations as direct threats against them. Then there's weak isolation. This isn't just someone wanting to be alone. It's a form of extreme social withdrawal designed specifically to protect an incredibly fragile self-esteem from any perceived rejection. These subtle internal fractures often lay the groundwork for a violent mind, years before any actual crime happens.
We've seen today how the darkest minds can appear perfectly normal on the surface. They can wear the mask of a multi-million-dollar athlete, a charming law student, a neighborhood clown, or a trusted community doctor. So given that reality, I want to leave you with this final thought. Just how well do we truly know the people around us?